Hi guys, welcome to lesson 3 of our geography unit. Today we're going to talk a little bit about landforms, and I think you'll find it pretty interesting. Alright, let's get started. So Earth has many different landforms. When scientists study landforms, they find it useful to group them by characteristics. So that's what we're going to talk about. Obviously, the mountains are different from the plains in that the elevations are much higher with mountains, right? The trees grow differently. You may see different types of trees, okay? Different types of animals. Scientists look at all these different things when they study the land, and geographers try to organize information and group things together so that we can easily identify things. Okay, so your vocab for this lesson, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 words there. Those will be added to your list of geography terms you're already familiar with. So you'll do your vocab if you haven't already, and you'll submit your video for that, and then you'll be taking notes on this. So go ahead and get your notebooks out and your pencil and paper and get ready. All right, the first landform we're going to talk about are plateaus and plains. They are flat, but plateaus rise above the surrounding land. A steep cliff often forms at least one side of a plateau. So we have plateaus here in Pueblo, in the area, right? If you go over by the college, the university, you'll see that there are some plateaus over that direction. We also have plateaus out by the reservoir. Lake Pueblo has Liberty Point, which is on a large plateau. And some plateaus are much, much larger than what we have around here. Arizona, Utah have some very, very big plateaus. Oklahoma has some gorgeous plateaus when you head into Oklahoma. Very, very cool things. A lot of Native Americans used to utilize the plateaus. One, they would take buffalo and try to charge the buffalo off of the edge of a plateau, and that was one easy way for them to trap or kill buffalo when they were hunting. So kind of a cool thing. They also used plateaus for shelter. Really cool deal. Okay, plains. Plains can be flat or have a gentle roll and can be found along coastlines or far inland. Some plains are home to grazing animals, such as horses and antelope. Farmers and ranchers use plains to raise crops and livestock. So if you are from this area, you know that we are on the plains. We're considered on the eastern slope of the Rockies here, and we kind of start the plains going eastward. So Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, all the way into Illinois, there are a lot of plains states. A lot of those states have livestock, ranches, or farming. Okay. A valley. A valley is a lowland area between two higher sides. Okay. Some valleys are small, level places surrounded by hills or mountains. Other valleys are huge expanses of land with highlands or mountain ranges on either side. I love this picture. It's a great picture of a valley. You can see how the waterway has cut through those mountains, okay? Because they are often supplied with water, runoff, and topsoil from higher lands around them, many valleys have rich soil and are used for farming and grazing livestock. Okay, and when we talk about mountainous areas, a little later on, we'll talk about some of the gold rushes and things. This is one way that people looking for gold would look for gold. They'd look through these valleys and follow the rivers, and they would see what kind of minerals had been pulled down by these rivers through these valleys off the mountains. Okay. Another way to classify some landforms is to describe them in relation to bodies of water. Continents are the largest of all land masses. Most continents are bordered by land and water. Only Australia and Antarctica are completely surrounded by water. Islands are land masses that are surrounded by water, but they are much smaller than continents. Okay, so we talk about Australia, Hawaii, those are all islands. Okay, Australia is a large island, and Hawaii, obviously, a series of smaller islands. Okay, Greenland is actually considered an island. All right, even though it is large. Okay, the thing you have to remember is that Greenland is not as large as most continents. The reason we think that it may be that large is because on maps it is skewed perspective when we look at a map. So when you're looking at Greenland, it looks a little bit bigger than it actually is. Okay? A peninsula is a long, narrow area that extends into a river, a lake, or an ocean. Peninsulas at one end are connected to a larger landmass. Okay, so a great example of a peninsula is the state of Florida. Okay, it reaches out between the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean, and you see that large stretch of land. Okay. An isthmus is a narrow strip of land connecting two larger land areas. Okay, one well-known isthmus is the Central American country of Panama. Panama connects two massive continents, North America and South America. And we'll be talking a bit more about the Panama Canal this year. The ocean floor is also covered by different landforms. The ocean floor, like the ground we walk on, is part of Earth's crust. In many ways, the ocean floor and land are similar. If you could see an ocean without its water, you would see a huge expanse of plains, valleys, mountains, hills, and plateaus. Some of the landforms were shaped by the same forces that create the features we see on land today. Okay, one type of ocean landform is the continental shelf. Okay, a continental shelf is an underwater plain that borders a continent. Continental shelves usually end at cliffs or downward slopes to the ocean floor. Take a look at this graphic, guys. You can see that aerial photo of India. Okay, in India, where you got lighter blue in there, you can tell that that area may have more land under it. Maybe the water is not quite as deep there, and that's because there is a continental shelf there. Okay, the land is actually much higher before it slopes off and falls down toward the ocean. Okay. A trench. A trench is a long, narrow, steep-sided cut in the ground or on the ocean floor. It's the deepest point. The Mariana Trench is more than 35,000 feet below the ocean's surface. Okay, so the Mariana is a very, very deep trench. I will try to link a video to the Mariana Trench so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, bodies of water such as lakes, rivers, streams, and ponds usually hold fresh water. Fresh water contains some dissolved minerals, but only a small percentage. The fish, plants, and other life forms that live in fresh water cannot live in salty ocean water. Okay, so here in Colorado we have fresh water. We have lakes, rivers, reservoirs, right? And we have different types of fish here. We have freshwater fish. So you see trout, cutthroat, you see bass, all kinds of fun things. In the ocean, they have salt water, and this is where we usually see the fish that are on the right side here. You see colorful, very vibrant colored fish. Saltwater fish cannot live in freshwater lakes. Okay, so very, very different as far as the minerals and things that are in that water, and it affects what we call the acidity. Okay, and what happens is those fish wouldn't be able to survive in that type of environment. Freshwater rivers are found all over the world. Rivers begin at a source where water feeds into them. Some rivers begin where two other rivers meet. Their waters flow together to form a larger river. Other rivers are fed by sources such as lakes, natural springs, and melting snow flowing down from higher ground. A river's end point is called the mouth of the river. Rivers end where they empty into other bodies of water. A river can empty into a lake, another river, or an ocean. A delta is an area where sand, silt, and clay or gravel is deposited at the mouth of a river. Some deltas flow onto land, enriching the soil with nutrients they deposit, and river deltas can be huge areas with their own ecosystems. Okay. Bodies of water of all kinds affect the lives of people who live near them. Water provides food, okay, it can provide work, transportation, and recreation to people in many parts of the world. People get food by fishing on rivers, lakes, and oceans. The ocean floor is mined for minerals and drilled for oil. All types of waters have been used for transportation for thousands of years, and water is vital to human culture and survival. At times, water is moving over, under, and above Earth's surface and changing form as it is recycled. Okay, this is where we talk about the water cycle. Earth's water cycle system is called the water cycle. The water cycle keeps Earth's water supply in balance, okay? So you can see that there is a small pond or river here. Okay, what happens is the sun heats that water and causes evaporation, okay? And as that evaporation rises, we call that transpiration. It forms clouds, and then when clouds get over those higher elevations, okay, it rains or snows, providing precipitation, and then that water that falls onto the earth rolls back down and falls back into those lakes and rivers. So it's a never-ending cycle. Okay, let's talk about the parts of a river. Okay, usually rivers start from higher elevations. Okay, so you'd have the source. Okay, you have what we call tributaries. Okay, tributaries are usually small creeks that may run into and form a river. Once you get a few tributaries, they actually will form a larger river. You have a delta and the mouth of the river at the end, okay? And all rivers are broken down into an upper course, a middle course, and a lower course, okay? So we have creeks, we have rivers, we have waterfalls, we have marshes, we have different things like a floodplain. There are many places in Pueblo County that are considered floodplains, and if some of those waterways flood, then the ground itself is then flooded, and they actually have those marked so that we can distinguish those areas. We wouldn't want to build a building somewhere where it is a floodplain and there's a potential for flooding at some point. It may seem dry as a bone right now, but it could cause a potential problem later on, okay? The sun's energy warms the surface of Earth, including the surface of oceans and lakes. Heat energy from the sun causes liquid water on Earth's surface to change into water vapor in a process called evaporation. Evaporation is what is happening all around us at all times. Water in oceans, lakes, rivers, and swimming pools is constantly evaporating into the air. Even small amounts of water in the soil, in the leaves of plants, and in the breath we exhale evaporate to become part of the atmosphere. So do yourself a little favor, get yourself a small cup of water. Okay, see if you can do this at home. Get a small cup of water, fill it to the top, and see if there's maybe a windowsill or somewhere where you can set that where it won't be disturbed. And I want you to just check on it every couple of days and see how much of that water actually evaporates, okay? Air that contains water vapor is less dense than dry air. This means that moist air tends to rise. As water evaporates, tiny droplets of water vapor rise into the atmosphere. Water vapors gather into clouds of varying shapes and sizes. Sometimes clouds continue to build until they are saturated with water vapor and can hold no more. A process called condensation occurs, in which water vapor transforms into a denser liquid. In other words, clouds form and they become snow or rain, okay? Condensation causes water to fall back to Earth's surface as rain, hail, or snow. Hail and snow either build up and stay solid or melt into liquid water. Snow stays solid when it falls in cold climates or on frozen mountaintops. When snow melts, it flows into rivers and lakes and melts directly into the ground. Okay, and then pollution. Some of the fuels we burn release poisonous gases into the atmosphere. These gases combine with water vapor in the air to create toxic acids. These acids then fall to Earth as a deadly mixture called acid rain. Okay, and I want to clear this up for you guys. This isn't always a deadly mixture, okay? What we see is the chemicals that saturate the vapor in the air, okay? As they fall to Earth, they don't necessarily just kill people. They tend to cause like corrosion and things, okay? So if we have large metal bridges and things like that, sometimes that mixture of that acidity in that rain can cause those things to deteriorate very quickly, okay? So in areas like in LA or New York where we may have more pollution in the air, okay, there's a chance that they have more pollution coming back to them in the rain as well, okay? So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you got some good notes. I do want to point out, after reviewing some of your notebooks, some people are writing down every single detail, which is good. You don't have to do that. The main idea here is to grab onto the main points or the main key words that you see in front of you, okay, and then write down some supporting details of each of those words. So on each slide I may have 2 or 3 key words and maybe even one, okay, and you want to write those down, identify them, write them down, and then you can put some supporting detail about those. I will give you a clue. Sometimes I highlight some of those words in yellow or green for you to observe, and makes it a little easier for you. So thanks for joining me, guys. I will look forward to seeing your notebooks. Thanks. Bye.